Hi, Gordy. Hey, Gordy, do you want our attention? Is there, did everybody get dessert? No. Okay. My name is Gordy Peterson, and this program tonight is sponsored by the Citizens Alliance for Property Rights, the San Juan Island Grange, and the Citizens for Responsible Government. So I happen to be part of the Citizens Alliance for Property Rights, and I have the honor to introduce our guest tonight. In introduction to that, I'd like to just make a few comments. First of all, we have to thank Gail, Highland, and Barbara for setting this all up and getting the speakers and arranging the desserts and everything. And if you want to give them a round of applause. I like to wake up one morning and find out that there's no threat to my property rights. It'd just be a good thing to do. The CAO, the Shoreline Master Plan, the GMA, the Land Bank, the federal monument proposals, all the cuts in ferry service, all these things going on all the time. It just seems like we have one issue after another that threatens our property rights. And it just never ends. But these things are all connected by a common thread, and that's what our speaker is going to touch on tonight. There's a common assumption today that human existence is a threat to biodiversity, and that as our population, as a human population increases, we threaten the planet with extinction. All human activity is now being judged for good or for evil by its impact on the environment. So smart people, people that understand how to manage our affairs better than we do, have joined forces to institute a command and control global plan. Does this sound like a far-fetched conspiracy theory? But this is just the opposite of what the Citizens Alliance for Property Rights stands for. We believe that private property owners are far better stewards of this earth than government or any collectivist central planners. The founders of America understood that without an individual right to own and control private property, no other rights can be protected from government tyranny. We understand that property and liberty are inseparable, and that defending our liberty is a non-partisan job. Tonight I'd like to introduce somebody who stands with us in the defense of liberty. She and her partner Kay are battle-hardened veterans of property rights litigation. The Gateways Redevelopment Project threatened her property rights, and she went to war with the City Hall. In this battle, she discovered that a planning revolution had quietly taken place, with its roots firmly embedded in the United Nations Agenda 21. So she's pulled the lid off this scam and exposed it for what it is. And Rosa Koire is the executive director of the Post-Sustainability Institute. She's had a career as a commercial real estate appraiser, specializing in eminent domain cases, and has been an expert witness in trial. She is the author of the book Behind the Green Mask, and this is the book here with a very scary cover. And she also has a website, democratsagainstagenda21.com. She's not afraid to tell the truth and take the heat. So I'd like to introduce her now. And also, we have this book available in the back, and there's a cost for it. But these two things, Understanding Agenda 21 and Sustainable Development, are back there, and they're free for you to take home to read more about this. And you can pass them on to your friends once you finish. So with that, I'd like to introduce Rosa.
Well, it sure is good to be here, and wow, it sure is loud, huh? Don't you that? Is it all right? So I'm especially glad to be here in the Grange, because the Grange is dedicated to free speech. And all of us are here together to learn something together. I'm going to learn from you, you're going to learn from me, and we're going to take back our country. And that seems like a really kind of a hyperbolic thing to say, and I wish that it was. But here you are in the islands, you're independent people. You are stewards of your land and your water and your own liberty. So I'm a liberal, I'm pro-choice, anti-war, I'm pro-gay marriage, and I'm a Democrat. Recently, I called myself a progressive Democrat, but I no longer do that. And I'll tell you why in a little while. Yes, I have about 28 years valuing property, commercial property mainly, for government agency, for eminent domain purposes, and that is eminent domain purposes for public use. I would never work for a redevelopment agency because redevelopment takes your property and gives it to another private individual for private use, and I do not support that. So I'm here tonight to talk to you about the biggest public relations scam in the history of the world, and that is the agenda for the 21st century, sustainable development. It justifies and enables the breakdown of our economy, the redesign of our cities and towns, our loss of agriculture and our food independence, social engineering, and the glorification of the new poverty. It's kind of not what it is, it's what isn't Agenda 21. Because when you look around your city, when you read your newspaper, when you try and do something with your property, when you go out in your boat, when you try and travel, you discover that Agenda 21 is all around you. And it doesn't come with flashing lights, and it doesn't come with labels, so it's not called Agenda 21. But what we're going to talk about tonight, you might think, oh, she's kind of getting off topic here a little bit. No, I'm not. Everything I'm talking about tonight is United Nations Agenda 21. So, you know, it's true, they do call it conspiracy theory. Those days are over. First they were saying that it was a conspiracy theory, that it didn't exist, that it was some kind of fantasy, that we were making it up. And then it was just so very easy to find that the United Nations Agenda 21 is in fact so findable on the internet. It's right on the United Nations website. So then they were no longer able to say that it was a conspiracy theory or a fantasy. So now instead it's, well, it's not a conspiracy theory or a fantasy, but you're misconstruing it. So that's another thing we're going to do tonight. We're going to kind of explode that myth. The green mask is going to come off. And you're going to see that behind it is United Nations Agenda 21, Sustainable Development. So no matter how small your town, no matter how large your city, no matter how remote you are, no matter how independent you think you are, the plan is affecting you right now. And so we're going to look at that. We're going to discover how it works, who's behind it, and what you can do to fight it, because we're going to go right from the big picture down to your living room. Because if you can't recognize it, you're not going to be able to resist. And that's what we're all doing together. That's what we are. We are part of the resistance. And awareness is the first step in the resistance. So, I'm going to tell you about the overarching philosophy behind this, and that is communitarianism. And the way communitarianism works is it's the balance of the individual's rights with the rights of the community. Now, we are Americans, and we have a constitution that guarantees our inalienable rights, the unalienable rights that we're born with, right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which we can take to mean that you keep your nose out of my life and everything's going to be fine. I'm not going to break any vile laws, and I'm going to have my life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. These are our rights that we are born with. Cannot be taken away or granted to us by a government. But what is the community's rights? These rights are not written down anywhere. They are not delineated in our Constitution. But that is what communitarianism is. It says that the rights of the individual need to be balanced with the rights of the community. So, what are the rights of the community? Let's take a look at this. We'll see, I like to do this in a kind of a visual way. We take two glasses, clear glasses. One is a glass of water, and that is a constitutional republic, like we have here in the United States. And we have another glass, and it's full of milk, and that is a communitarian state, like, for instance, the Soviet Union, communist Russia, Red China, or the Nazi Party in Germany. Okay, so that's a communitarian state. Then we're going to take a clear glass pitcher, and we're going to put it down on the table, and we're going to mix, we're going to balance. We're going to balance the rights of the individual with the rights of the community. So we're going to pour them together into our glass pitcher, and what do we have? It's not water anymore, is it? It's milk. It's watery milk, but it's milk. You have lost the rights of the individual. And oftentimes, the rights of the individual under communitarianism, the water never gets into that pitcher at all. So you have this change, this third way, this no labels. And you might have seen that. It's sort of the new, supposedly the answer to the problem between the two parties. There's a synthesis. But the way communitarianism works is it synthesizes by creating a problem that did not exist before and then posing a solution to it that you never would have agreed to had not that crisis been created for you. And that's what we're going to look at tonight. So I'm going to take kind of a journalist framework. I'm going to do the who, what, why, where, how, and when kind of thing, but I'm going to start with why. Why is what we all know is why. It's climate change. It's global warming. No, it's climate change. No, it's global warming. Let's see. It's one of those. It's something like that. It's the urgency, the panic, the chaos. We are losing our biodiversity. We are in deep trouble. If we don't do something fast, the whole planet's going to be destroyed. Certainly the human race is going to end, but maybe that's a good idea, I don't know. So this is what we see here. We're going to have loss of biodiversity, we're going to have a total loss of the planet, we're going to have a collapse of all of our systems if we don't, what? If we don't act. If we don't act quickly and we do what? We're going to save the planet. How are we going to do that? We had a lead up to United Nations Rio de Janeiro Earth Summit in 2002, in 1992. We had a lead up to that in 1987. And that was the Brundtland Commission. Okay, and I'm going to tell you that they defined at that time sustainable development. And the sustainable development definition is that it needs to be development that meets the needs of the present without compromising future generations' ability to meet their own needs. Okay? Development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the future generations' ability to meet their own needs. So, if you were to take this, and if you're going to really take this to its extreme, you would say, well, you never would have introduced pavement because horse and buggy would not be able to